And the Lord said, let there be combat shirts, and there were combat shirts. What's up, dude?
Popping collars all day, baby.
Super giga mega Chad. Look at that profile, baby.
So I think you actually have the more modern version right there. This is kind of the old school or older version of it. I actually kind of prefer this one. I think it's thinner. But
it's a little more flexible up here too.
Yeah, I think so. And I like the lighter tan and not that, almost like light brown or, sand.
You like the desert sand versus the coyote brown.
Yeah, I just, I like to cosplay as Chris Kyle. So, whenever I can. So, but no, anyway, yeah, I'm digging the combat shirts. Got my G.I. Joe licensed glasses right here, right? These are the real deal. So
those are, yes, they are.
Cool. You got a pair of these too, don't you?
I do. Yeah, they're in a box.
Okay.
I might have to break them out. Anyway, I'm gonna get rid of these. So, I haven't seen you since Joe Fest. How you doing?
Oh, dude, great. Came home, unpacked everything, started looking at all the cool stuff I got. Got my Larry Hama signed Silent Interlude 11x17. Got that framed up and everything. So that's great. Been messing around with Covert Ops Condor, which is if you're gonna do a con exclusive, that's how you do it, man. That figure is fantastic. Just enjoying. I've I was only away from my son for about 3 or 4 days, but I need to get back and charge my batteries back up, man. That little dude's awesome. So
very cool. How was your first Father's Day? How was that?
I was with him all day long. Because there is no daycare on Sunday. Right. So we just hung out all day, man. We're getting to the point where we can actually start to play games with each other at a very, very like rudimentary level. So if I grab a portion of the blanket and I shake it like this, he'll grab it and he'll start shaking it like that too, so it was fun, man. I did nothing but dad shit all day long. So, couldn't have asked for a better Father's Day, honestly. How was yours?
Alone, but it was good.
That's unfortunate, man.
I mean, I streamed with a bunch of our friends from Joe Fest yesterday, and the ma'am called, and we talked as we could, and she's just busy, man. She's just out there hopping around in Chinooks, living the dream.
Oh yeah, for sure. She's out there operating operationally in an operational environment,
while operating.
Yeah, while operating. Yeah.
Yeah, very cool. So we got a good amount of people here already. So Cutthroat's here, Pendragon's here, Patrick Strauko's here. Pendragon sends a $5 super chat right off the bat. Thanks, man. He says, Chad, buy the ma'am a new candle. You know what to do. So the ma'am sent me a Father's Day present, and she was like really big on like, I got you a candle. And I'm like, all right, cool. A candle, right? I get this box. I open the box and I look at the candle, and it says, whenever this candle is lit, give me the D.
Like, all right, deal with that. Yeah. That's a pretty interesting present right there. Man, there's a lot of cool people in the chat, man. Not Top Goon, always good to see you. Was cool hanging out at Joe Fest.
Yeah, for sure. Beta Ray Bob too. Matt Noon, Retro Roamers, Danjamin. What's up, Balake? Balake's here. Mo's here. Yeah, very cool. Plastic Mercenaries here. Says happy first Father's Day, Jeremy.
Hey, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Had an absolute blast. Can't wait for the next one, man.
Yeah. Pirates of the Galaxy's here, and James from Ratface 44 Reviews is here. Tony Romo's here. V Conley's here, and we are. Oh, JLS Comics, dude. JLS Comics does the best freaking like who is Cobra Commander videos and who is this and who is that. I love JLS Comics videos, man.
Yeah. I was actually introduced to formally introduced to his channel live on a stream, and not realizing that the YouTube algorithm had actually put his content into my watch list. So I'd already seen a couple of his who is videos already, just not knowing who it was. And so when I went to sub the channel, I was like, hey, oh yeah, I've been here before.
Hey,
Yeah,
hey, what's going on? And Bear 11 Charlie says, been looking forward to this since the last show. Very cool. Yeah, me too.
Thank you very much. So, Chad, if you don't mind, I want to kind of give a recap as to what it is that we're doing here. I think a lot of the stuff we put on social media was kind of self-explanatory, but what we're doing is you've got two modern day GWAT babies, right? Or the global war on terror, soldiers who have come up during that time. And, and also big G.I. Joe enthusiasts. And so we're going to be going through the lore and kind of breaking things down from an operational perspective as the, how this went down, how maybe it could have gone down in the real world instead. And then give our individual perspective on that. And also trying to start the official, unofficial G.I. Joe book club, because we really want everybody to pick up these books and then read them along, with us in the in-between time. That way, you can come in the chat and then give your perspective on what we're talking about as well. So right now we are in the the IDW Chuck Dixon run right here.
Yep. So
if you don't have it yet, it's not very expensive to pick up. So you can read along with us. And, like I said, we want as many contributions from the chat as we possibly can. We want it to be a really, really interactive experience for everybody.
Yes. Jeremy misunderstood his homework. He thought we were doing the whole book tonight. And I was like, no, dude, we're doing the first chapter. He's like, oh, okay. And I'm like, that's why it says chapter 1.
Yeah. So, leave it to me to overcomplicate a really easy scenario, right? And make it more difficult than it has to be.
I mean, you're calves, so it's cool. I get it.
Yeah. We're going to overcomplicate everything.
So I'm like slow as smooth as fast. Use the Kith's method. And you're like, oh, I'm going to low crawl.
Yeah, I don't need the ISR.
2 grid squares.
I don't need the ISR. I'm gonna put a knife in my teeth and I'm crawling through the grass 3 clicks.
Stabbing. The whole way.
Waiting for the wind to come and push the grass so I can move another 3 inches. You know what I mean?
Jeez, man. So George Atkins says hello and good night. Way past his bedtime. So good to see you, George.
Thank you for being here, Yo Joe, sir.
Very, very cool. And then Bear 11 Charlie says, I have books 1 through 5. Having fun reading them again. Yeah, for sure.
Awesome. Yeah.
It's been a minute since I dusted this book off, because you and I were talking offline about, you were like, hey, who's, and no spoilers, right? But you were like, hey, who's that dude? And I was like, wait out. I'll get back to you.
Yeah. And there's some things, because I have read this, right? I actually, and I'm not trying to boast or brag or anything, but I do have a signed copy of this, right? With the snake eyes on the inside of the cover, from the artist, but it's been a while. So, going back through this, I was like, oh yeah, it was almost like a journey of rediscovery, but this plot's really great. I'm enjoying going back through it so far.
Yeah, me too. There's a few things that I'm sure we're gonna break down Barney style, but yeah, it's definitely good. And then Cutthroat's asking, where can you get this book? Amazon?
Yeah, if honestly, a great place to look for trade paperbacks and graphic novel versions of stuff is at Half Price Books. They always have a massive selection of they have some comics too. Usually they don't take the ones that aren't worth like any money. Like they'll have a lot of key issues of stuff, right? But graphic novel wise, I've never been disappointed at any Half Price Books that I've ever been to. And the cool thing is, it's always half off of what the cover price is. So, or Amazon, eBay, all those people.
Books.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, it's available most places.
Nice.
Very nice.
Chad, can the co-host give a brief intro bio of himself? I don't really know him. I don't know if he's being a smart.
I think there's a hint of sarcasm in there that we're just not picking up, because sometimes talk to text doesn't work out,
Yeah.
right? You can't hear
Tone.
the inflection.
Can't hear tone. Yeah.
Right, no tone, no inflection, so it's hard. But yeah, if you're not messing around, just say so, and I'll give you a real brief intro into me and why I believe that I'm qualified to talk Joe. All right, I'm actually being serious. I'm actually being serious.
Hey.
Epilogues. I don't know what that word is.
Hey.
Oh, apologies. Yeah, I'm Cav. I don't know how to read. Anyway, so my name is Jeremy. I'm a 15-year active duty Army, career soldier. I've got 3 tours in Iraq under my belt. I'm currently a 19 Delta Cavalry Scout. I've had the opportunity to take place in real world conventional operations, as well as having the ability to dabble my feet into unconventional real world operations at the same time. So that's me in a nutshell. Combat arms, career soldier. That's me.
Hell yeah.
Thank
That's what
you.
I'm talking about.
Thank you.
Matthew Matson, are you going to read the Cobra series? HC The Last Laugh is awesome.
Okay.
Put it on the list, dude.
Yeah.
And then Matthew Matson says Comixology has all the comics, the many versions of the series. Yeah, I have a bunch of the Comixology stuff on my iPad.
Yeah.
Very, very cool.
There's also one that I want to get to, as the show progresses, right? But there's a Chuckles only standalone story about him just doing secret squirrel shit, which is a term. Sorry, it's an Army term.
It's a term. Yeah,
we use for unconventional or clandestine type of operations. We call it secret squirrel shit. But just secret
slick
squirrel.
Everything's slick. You got
right,
no nothing, no flags, no.
Right, completely sanitized uniforms. A lot of times these things are going to be conducted by what people commonly know as Delta Force, right? So those are going to be the guys with full beards that are in Hawaiian shirts, actually out there doing Chuckles type of stuff. But when it's time to go down and lay some scunion, right, they are a very, very effective, very, very effective combat unit at the same time. So, yeah.
There's a question for you. When did you get into Joe?
Real American hero, man. I was born in 1981, so I came up with the cartoon, came up with Real American Hero figures on the pegs at Toys R Us, and always going there and getting them for my birthday and getting them for Christmas. And then my lifelong friend, I was gonna say life partner, my lifelong friend who actually our
New Army.
We were so this guy I'm referring to, I'm not gonna name his name, but his mom and my mom were friends before we were even born. And so then when we came along at the same time, we just automatically became best friends. And his route led him to the Coast Guard. Mine led, my path led me to the Army, but he's still a guy that I contact on a monthly basis and we talk. But we used to play Joe all the time together. And we would kind of coordinate because we knew that we were going to do this so often. We would coordinate, hey, I'm asking for these for my birthday, right? So if you want to try to get these for yours, right? Because my birthday is in May and his is in August, so they're pretty close. So we could put together these operations that we were trying to make in our head, but we needed the key personnel, right? We're going to go into Chad, what's the term that I'm looking for? It's the catch-all term for every military operator, or at least for the Army anyway. MET-TC, right?
Yeah.
So we're getting into the troops available, right? So if you're gonna conduct an operation like this, who do we need to make this happen? And so, that's my experience with Joe. Obviously the cartoon, and all that stuff. Didn't really get big into the comic books until I was a little bit older. But yeah, big on the cartoon, big on the toy line as a kid.
I remember reading in the comics when Storm Shadow got smoked on the beach and left there for dead, and then I was like, wait a second.
Yeah,
what's going on here?
The tone of the comics and the TV show were a bit different, right?
Hey, speaking of Storm Shadow, dude, I I opened this guy today.
Oh, is that Haya?
Yeah.
He looks good.
I
He
opened
looks
him
like
and Snake Eyes.
he really looks like that original Stormy art from the Classifieds.
Yeah,
remember?
that's exactly what he is.
That's okay. All right.
Yep. That is the original Classified design of Storm Shadow. And yeah, I did a unboxing and a review, and I'll put it up tomorrow. So
yeah, as someone who's obviously, you're a tattooed individual. I'm a more conservatively tattooed individual. You can't see mine in any of my uniforms, to include summer PTs, right? Right. Do you feel with Classified they're going a little bit overboard on the sleeves, like the sleeve tattoos?
Like rock and roll?
Like rock and roll, right? I think it's a little too much. I may remove those from rock and roll.
Plus, you gave a service member a bunch of freaking no jobbers on the backs of his hands.
Yeah.
Right? He's got that big smiley face like the Joker.
Yeah. I think other than that, I think I'm going to be taking those off. But I do, with that figure, I do enjoy the callback to classic rock and roll with a modernized touch. Right? You get a pretty.
He's like a mix between version 1 and version 2 rock and roll.
Right. Well, and then also, conventional military stuff as well. You got a pretty good representation of the M60 coming with him. The ammo belts around the wrist. What the fuck is that? But those are coming off. But he is wearing a fast helmet.
No. Hang on, I gotta de-link this round.
Yeah, I gotta de-link these off my wrist. But I do like the fast helmet with the integrated comms and all that stuff. So a little bit of a modern touch to it. So I'm really excited about that figure.
Yeah, very cool. Plastic Mercenary says, this is great. My son is watching with me. He's home from West Point. Very cool.
Okay, awesome.
My personal translator for all the military terms you guys use.
Okay, awesome. That's fantastic. Pendragon has a very good point as well. He says most designers
less is more.
Yeah, less is more. You can find, if done right, you can find the complexity with inside of simplicity. Right?
There's a go ahead.
I would say that there's an art to it, right? There's an art to the less is more.
There's also a term that we use in the military, which is ounces equal pounds and pounds equals pain.
Right.
Yep. The more crap you carry, the more it's just gonna suck.
Yeah, and I wish that the leaders in the upper echelons, the decision makers, would understand that, especially when they're moving us to a heavier service rifle now that has smaller 20-round magazines, right? Not a big fan of that. So if you do have a West Pointer that's listening, hopefully eventually
take notes.
Yeah, one of the things that you're going to find out as far as modern kinetic combat or conflict is concerned, that the decisive factor in almost every victory is volume of fire, right? Who can lay down the most hate, right? And who can do it the most effectively. So when you're taking our 30-round box magazine and dropping us down to a larger caliber that weighs more, right? But with a 20-round magazine now, I have my concerns about that. I legitimately do.
Yeah, because the three things that are always at our disposal are speed, surprise, and violence of action, right? And so once surprise is gone, you got to utilize your speed and you have to employ your violence of action.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's another one of the key trifectas right there. And then one I think that we're going to get into in right here is also shoot, move, communicate as well. That's another trifecta of truth right there. And then if one of those things is eliminated, it affects the ability to do the other two substantially.
Yep, those are the first and foremost three tenets of any combat arms operations. Yeah, why are they moving away from 5.56?
So you remember when they were first talking about giving us that what was it, a 6.7 SPC, right? Or was it a 6.5? Anyway, so they were going up from the 5.56, and then they tried out this 6.5, I think, right? And they gave it to our top tier guys, right? They gave it to ODAs and A teams that were operating in Afghanistan, and they immediately said, "You can have this back. We're going to go back to 5.56 green tip because it just fucking works,
Those tungsten rounds are money. They're money.
You're talking about the black tip.
The tungsten,
the new black tip
with the tungsten core,
right? So we had a little
green
bit of an
tips
issue.
had tungsten in them too.
Okay, so what are the black tips? Those were those are the penetrators, right?
That's no, the black tip is the lead free round. It's called something else.
Well, they
It
gave
has
it
a
to
name.
us.
EPR. It's the
Okay.
EPR run.
Well,
Yeah.
they gave it to us downrange,
Okay.
right? They wanted us to turn in all of our green tip, and they gave us this new black tip 5.56, and we were having big issues with it as far as the old box magazines that we were using. Those two things did not jive well together, and so we wound up hoarding as much green tip as we possibly could, and taking that out for operational purposes. Yeah. Jimmy Purvis said black tip is AP. Yeah, that's yeah.
Makes sense because right.
Yeah.
It's the same color coding on link ammo.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get in the weeds on that, man. That's all military industrial complex stuff where everybody has a good idea and they all get somebody, in Congress who's got kickbacks, and then they're like, oh, well, we need another new pattern. Let's get this one that looks like gravel. And it's like, what was wrong with Woodland and
DCU, right?
Yeah, or the DBDUs were good too.
Yeah, those were good too. I mean, there are some things about this new service rifle that they have committed to now. Whether or not it actually gets to the force, but before I retire, I don't know. But I do like that each one of the weapons is now going to be suppressed. Right, they all come with suppressors now, which I think is a very good thing.
So all you need is some freaking mouth breathing, window licking Joe over there with a suppressor, like NDing.
Well, they have what I like about working with a suppressor is, first of all, they almost completely eliminate all muzzle flash whatsoever, right? So that's a very, very good thing for maintaining OPs in. And the second
light
thing,
discipline, yeah,
right. The second thing is that I wish that they work like they do in James Bond movies, where I can shoot someone in the same room and another person doesn't hear it, right? They don't work like that. But the other added advantage to that is that it's almost impossible to tell direction of fire from a suppressed weapon, right? An unsuppressed weapon, it's very, very easy to say, hey, at 9 o'clock, something like that. But with a suppressed weapon, it's extremely hard to tell from the direction of fire. Now, the downside is the amount of gas that you end up eating because of that suppressor. So
dirty.
Yeah. Like your whole face is, after 90, 120 rounds, something like that, like your face is black. And so, yeah.
13th Prince says, I joined in to geek out about plastic army men. Now I'm nerding out on all this military terms you men are dropping. Thank you for being here.
Hey, that's part of the show, man. That's what we want to do. So I guess, Chad, at 23 minutes in, do you want to get in the meat and potatoes here?
Yeah, sure. Why not? I mean, I was just listening to you ramble.
This is it's gonna turn into like an actual sequel of the Warno episode where we just talked army shit the entire time.
Yeah, but that's what it was, right? It was a warning order.
Yeah. So the warning order to Operation Painted Horse, right? So we received the mission at this point, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So for everybody that's that picked up the material, if you're reading along, please jump in the chat and let's have a conversation about this. So the prelude here, we find a certain number of the Joe team on what's referred to as a maritime interdiction, right? Chad, as far as Zodiacs are concerned, what are your do you have any experience with that piece of equipment?
Yeah, but not much. I mean,
yeah,
I'm a ground guy, so
yeah, you're a ground guy. I've dealt with them in the past, right? Training, right, for like maritime infill, exfil. Type of stuff. Never utilized one operationally or in the real world, right? So just in training scenarios. And what I can tell you about the Zodiac is that it looks way fucking lighter than it really is.
Oh, they're heavy as shit. Yeah, they're totally heavy.
It looks like a blow up boat, or something like that. But I think those Zodiacs come in at like 150 pounds.
Yeah, they're really heavy, and that's why, like in movies where you see one person like dragging one up a beach. Yeah,
no, that's an inflatable raft, is what that is. That is not an actual
Yeah.
Zodiac, right there. So one of two things would have had to happen for this right here. You're not going to launch a Zodiac and then paddle out to the middle of the water, right? This would have had to get launched by a larger vessel that got them close enough to where then they could drop the motor. You see they got a motor on the back.
Yeah.
Right. So in order to maintain noise discipline, you're going to have to drop the rotor or the motor within a certain proximity of the target, right? And then go straight paddling up to there.
Yeah. Or it in, yeah.
Yes, or it on in. So this is happening. What's the location of this, Chad?
So we're talking W's, right? Our 5 W's. The location is it's a shipping yard in Istanbul.
Shipping yard, Istanbul,
Turkey.
Okay, so and this is in the past tense, right?
Yep.
So we're reading the events that Duke.
He's remembering the events while he's writing his AAR.
Right. Yeah. So taking a look at the Joes and the Zodiac, they all look great. Looks like really cool Night Force looking stuff. I'm digging the camo paint.
They do look really good.
Yeah. I like green.
Beachhead looks awesome with the Sam Fisher nods on.
Right.
You notice that's a little wink to Sam Fisher.
Right. So he definitely has the Sam Fisher tri tube goggle right there.
Yeah.
So stealth insertion via Zodiac at a 0-100 hours.
Yeah. Duke, Flint, torpedo, beachhead.
Right. Yep.
And then something else to remember, and we're going to get into it in a little bit, is that in this timeline of these comics, Duke is an E7 and beachhead is an E6.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not Master Sergeant and First Sergeant.
Right. So I mean, but what you're going to find out is, for anybody that hasn't read this yet, this isn't really a spoiler. They're just now hearing whispers on the wind of something called Cobra, and they don't know if it's a person. They don't know if it's an organization. That they have no idea, but they're hearing things through back channels about something or someone called Cobra. Right.
Right. Yeah, and we're going to see that here in a minute.
So then it takes us. We're going to go down the 5 W's, right? Suspected illegal arms shipment bound for a port in the USA. So that's not good. That doesn't work out for us, right?
No. So insert Zodiac 0100 Greenwich Mean Time.
Correct. So they climb up the side of the boat. Duke takes out a guard who is not taking his duties very seriously.
That's called a soft target.
Right, being very lackadaisical. So what we would call this is, you look at this guy. He's dressed in a boogaloo shirt, a relaxed weapons posture, which is not something that you want to have when you're on any type of security detail, roving patrol. You want to have your weapon at the low ready. You always want to appear to be a hard target. Right. Always appear that you know what you're doing. So this relaxed weapons posture right here can give the rest of the team some type of indication as to the professionalism of this organization that they're about to possibly get kinetic with, right?
Yep.
So Duke comes up from behind, takes him out, silent. This guy's fate happens off panel. We don't know if he caught a combat knife in the neck or if he just, knocked him out. Not sure. So
yeah, you just see he gets dragged away. So you don't know if he's just incapacitated or if he's KIA. So.
Right. So there's a little bit of Duke says that he's taking point. He said beachhead takes drag. Flint and torpedo stay on me. I'm not sure. I've never heard the term drag before. We would say, we have the, he's on the rear security, something like that.
Yeah. Like I'm long security. I'm short. I'm rear.
Yeah, far side, near side security, something like that.
Yeah, but near side, far side, you got, and then like, when we're doing urban operations, you have the person that's long because they kind of step out of the stack so they can fire at longer ranges to engage. Yeah,
exactly. Right. But here's why I'm not upset about the terminology here not being 100% what I recognize, because you're talking about an organization that is a conglomerate of all these different branches, right?
Yeah.
So as a TTP, the Joe team may have came up with their own operational language. That way, you know, the guys who came from Razorbat may not do it the same way that the guys from Marine Recon are doing it, who aren't doing it the same way that the SEALs are doing it, right? So they have their own internal Joe operational language. So I can
you
wrap
would
my head
see
around.
anyway. You would see that anyway.
Right. Also, given the fact that sometimes this is an international organization as well, right? Get Big Ben coming in there, so I'm sure the stuff that he was doing, you know, their operational language in the SAS is going to be way different from ours here in the U.S. You know, we can't even decide on how to pronounce aluminum with
aluminium.
aluminium.
Aluminium. JLS Comics says he'll be okay. He has a reverse Uno card in his pocket.
Yeah, you just bounce it. Bounces off of me and sticks to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, look, the weaponry looks cool. You got Duke with an MP5 there, which is something that you want to, you know, you would want to have in a CQB or a close quarter, you know, environment.
Look at that shotgun right behind him. Look at that street sweeper.
Yep. He's got the shoddy right behind him. And something that I really do like in comic books is where the especially military comic books is where the individual's gear makes sense with the weapon system that they're carrying. So if you look at Duke's gear, you can definitely see those are submachine gun magazines that he has right there.
Skinny mag pouches,
Yep, skinny mag pouches. You know, for the MP5, or you could use them for the UMP 45 as well, and you know those other ones. The MP7 one's a little weird though, I think, but we're not going to see that. So
one thing I was trying to figure out is again, verbiage, because you know, shoot, move, communicate. So how we communicate is important, because we always want to make sure that we, you know, enter the net, send a message, leave the net, right? So we just get in, get out. What the hell is an ISO container? I just always call them connexes.
I don't. International shipping something. International shipping. Yeah, I don't know what that means.
It might be. If somebody knows what ISO container is, let us know.
Yeah, we would just say.
I mean, I don't deal with maritime shipping. And then Chronically says, "What's up, fellas?
What's up, Chronically Online?
What's up, Steven? Hey, Steven."
Somebody
Google ISO container. Ask Sergeant Major Google. Anyway.
So it looks like they get into a little bit about how they're getting the weapons in there. They're actually using a torch to cut the doors off, replacing the cargo that's supposed to be in there. That way the seals on the connexes aren't broken. Right. And then you don't have to re-verify what's on the shipping label, right? If the seal is still intact, right? But that's something that actually goes back to UMO class, right? So unit movement officer.
Because you can use a one-time seal, right?
Right. Yeah. Right. That is a school that I actually did pass, right? I know we talked about Master Gunner, but yeah, I am UMO qualified unit movement officer, so I know about these connexes and their seals.
It's International Organization for Standardization, but it says ISO, India Sierra Oscar, but International Standardization Organization. Yeah, okay, whatever.
Could be.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thanks, buddy. Oh, there it is. ISO containers are international intermodal containers that meet the standards specified by the IOS. Yeah. Okay, cool. You're both right. Thank you. Okay.
Awesome.
See, look at that. I love it.
You know,
yeah, so hereabouts, we just call them fucking connexes.
We just call them connexes.
It's a connex. Intermodal container. I guess that makes sense, right? Because they stack connexes.
Yeah, throw your cots in there, throw all your extra batteries, and then wait for the hazmat guys to come and do their thing with it.
Kicker boxes and all that crap. Yeah.
But I guess you would have to be a little bit more knowledgeable about this stuff if you are going to be the team that is handpicked for a maritime interdiction, right? So they would at least have to get some type of brief up on that, more than likely by either shipwreck or torpedo, right?
And another thing to consider, right? So when we talk about METTC, we talk about like enemy and like civil considerations. So they do mention in here that Turkey is a NATO country. It is a NATO ally. So this is like an unsanctioned mission.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, they're in friendly waters, but they're conducting this operation without the approval of the Turkish government. So They got to be like super secret squirrel about this mission.
Right. And so it looks like, as far as the mission is concerned, their objective was to go in there with 0 casualties.
Yes.
Right. Do what they got to do, either identify the things that they need to identify or destroy the things they need to identify, but with no loss of life. Right. So get in, do what you got to do. Hopefully don't break any of the Geneva Convention laws and then get out, get out again.
Right. Yeah. So he's actually saying in his AAR that on paper, the cargo is toys manufactured. And then it's obviously weapons. Now they say Stinger, whatever. It's not necessarily a Stinger, but it's some kind of man portable.
Man portable, shoulder fired.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes it's not a Stinger. Sorry. I mean, it looks more like a goose than it does a Stinger.
Yeah, it does almost look like the goose.
Yeah, which is what we call the Carl Gustav, which is that's a shoulder fired anti tank weapon, right. Or anti personnel as well, depending on the projectile that you put inside of it. So
sure. But either way, it's some kind of shoulder fired rocket, and it says the goal is non-lethal intervention. So they also don't get into their ROE, right? So ROE is rules of engagement. And for anybody who doesn't know, there's always 3 tenets, right? The Army, we love to do things in 3s, right? Crawl, walk, run, shoot, move, communicate, speed, surprise, violence of action. But there's always 3 major rules of engagement. Yourself, your buddies, your equipment. If any of those 3 things are in danger, you can go weapons hot immediately.
Right. Yeah. So, and that's a determination that whoever the leader of that particular element is going to have to make in the field, right? Or they're right there.
Now, for us, when we deploy, it's high up the Joint Chiefs of who decides where, and it can go all the way up to the president. But I'm sure in the Joe team, they probably have a little more flexibility of their ROE.
Yeah, I think I think General Hawk has POTUS on speed dial, right?
Probably,
they are the go-to for that, right?
Yep.
So more than I think Hawk could probably smooth that over, right? If something crazy were to happen, as long as they didn't leave any traces of what organization they belong to behind at the scene, right? So we were talking about sanitizing uniforms. Chad and I are both no, you're not sanitized anymore. You put a patch on. Right?
I did, yeah. I put my finest Joe patch on. We're talking Joe. I put a finest patch on.
So when
I am not sanitized.
When you're going to do some hood rat shit in a place that you're not supposed to be in, we call it sanitizing a uniform, which is take away any identifiable patches or anything that could lead back to you being a U.S. Service member, right? Yep. So no name tapes, no unit patches, obviously no flags, right?
No common access card, no nothing, no pictures of spouses, children. No
your wings. ID tags or your dog tags, people call them. No ID tags, no ID card, all that stuff.
And non-standard ammo.
Non-standard ammo, lots of it. So that takes us to the portion where things start to get a little wonky for them, right? It doesn't. The op doesn't go as planned, right? And I think I said this at least once, maybe more than once on the Warno episode, that the first casualty of every engagement is always the plan. That is the first thing that's going to get hit and die right in front of you. And then you're going to have to come up with a contingent, or you should have a contingency already, right? Yeah. But you're going to have to shift
plans. Yeah.
Right. You're going to have to adjust to what the reality is on the ground. And that very much happens, as we're going to get into right here.
Yep. And then Nick's in the house. It says, going to do some hood rat shit.
Man. Yeah. So yeah. I could get into that a little bit later too. Like I said, I do have experience in conventional and unconventional real-time operations. So not real-time, but real world operations.
There's a civilian translation, the quote from Mike Tyson: everyone has a plan until they get punched in the face.
Yeah. And our 4 operators from Joe, they caught a pretty big right hook. So
Rick LaPrade, what is up, dude?
What's going on, man?
Yeah. everyone has a plan until they get blown up with an RPG. Yep, pretty much. Right? It's a 80 millimeter explosively formed penetrator, sir. Thank you. Actually, yeah. It's 4 millimeters smaller than an HE4. Yeah, good to see you here, Rick. Man, very cool.
Yeah, very cool to have you here. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for being here.
All right, so they basically they do a little recon. They see the number of enemy combatants that they got in front of them.
Mm-hmm.
Throw a couple of flashbangs, and then they come in, right? And then Duke is saying, it's what is that? Chechen? What's that language? Bulgarian.
They're speaking Bulgarian, right?
Yeah. And then he says, "Yeah, let me see your hands." Right? He's telling them to throw down their weapons. So then there's so there is hostile intent, then there's hostile act, and then there's non-hostile. So if they have no weapons and their hands are up, they have no ability to. Yeah.
And it seems like even though he said that they're throwing flashbangs, which are, I wouldn't use that to try to subdue anyone. It's a diversion at best. If it's in an enclosed area.
Yeah, they're not even in an enclosed space.
Right. And so for anybody that's never utilized a flashbang but before, it's something that you would use to prep a confined space for entry for your stack team to go in. So you throw a couple of bangers in there, right? They're super, super loud and they're super, super bright. So if you're not prepared for it, if you don't have your eyes shut and you don't have your hands over your ears or some type of protective ear devices, it's going to ring your bell pretty hard.
Yeah,
it's going to ring your bell. You're not going to have vision for a couple of seconds. All you're going to hear is wee, 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 wee in your ears, and that's as we're coming in and perforating you a whole bunch while you're still confused, right? But it works it works in an enclosed environment. So here, what they're doing, what I probably would have done instead, and again, this is like a big maybe, is I would have came with pro masks, right? And I would have tried to use CS in order to subdue them.
Yeah, because that gas will linger. And then Joe says, "I've only known Jeremy via 3 POA. Wow, respect. Very cool."
Oh, hey, thanks, man. Appreciate that. Yo, Joe, buddy.
And then highly articulated, "What is up, dude?" Says, "What sound does it make?"
It's how do you spell wee 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 wee? Because you usually don't hear the sound. Like that's usually, yeah. You hear the swan song of your ears not registering that decibel anymore, right? They're permanently damaged at that point. But there's a pretty good chance that you're going to find yourself with a couple extra holes in your body than you used to have before that happened, if you're on the receiving end of one. So it doesn't really matter that much. So, but that's just my take. Chad, what are your thoughts on using coming in with pro masks and trying to utilize CS versus flashbangs on the deck of a ship?
I mean, gas would work. Yeah, gas is a little more passive than a 9-banger, but there are very many ways. There's very rarely the way. That's another thing that we love to say in the combat arms community, right? They chose to go this route. And the funny thing is it didn't incapacitate all of them, as we're going to find out here in a second.
Right.
Chris from Cutthroat wants you to explain CS.
CS, it's essentially tear gas. I don't know if what we use is a little bit stronger than what you're going to find in like a, go to Walmart and you buy a can of mace or something, like that. But it's very uncomfortable for anyone who's been on the receiving end of CS gas. It's happened to me quite a few times in training environments.
It tastes very
it tastes horrible. It makes your eyes water up. All of a sudden your nose just starts running. Your eyes burn. You start to feel like you need to vomit. All that stuff. And if there's any moisture on any of your exposed skin, it automatically starts to burn. Not physically, like
shaved,
right. Yeah, if you have a clean shave, that area right there is going to physically feel like it's on fire at the same time. So very, very disorienting. So if you have people that have pro masks on or protective masks, right, they're pretty much protected from it.
What we call pro masks, civilian call gas masks.
Yeah, that's what you would call.
They're called pro masks.
Yeah. And so, yeah, try to get in there and then subdue them non-lethal at the same time. Something, I'm not sure, but yeah. Yeah. Sorry I'm late. You guys look cute in your matching shirts. Oh, hey, it's Adam. Hey, I unsubscribed to your YouTube channel earlier today. So I was just gonna be super passive aggressive about it and not tell you, but since you're here.
No, you didn't.
No, I didn't. It was just a joke. Hey, everybody check out my good friend Adam Drake over at Highly Articulated. He wants nothing more for his birthday than to get to 500 subs. It is a real easy way to help this guy out, is to just go hit subscribe, because I guarantee that you may not like all of his content, but there may be like 1 or 2% that's actually bearable. I'm just joking. No, his content's great. So
and he's a super passionate guy, and like you can feel it when he talks about toys.
His energy is infectious, right? And if you're an enthusiast of Animal Wars of the Kingdom, he usually does a lot of stuff or a lot of content concerning that line as well. He's a massive Joe enthusiast at the same time. So yeah, go check him out. Highly Articulated. I think I gave his government name away already, but yeah, my good friend Adam over there.
Are you done?
I think so. I think so.
Actually, what he really wants is an 8-inch sub from Subway. You want 8 inches of meat? Is that what you
Oh, and thank you for
for talking shit about our shirts.
Yeah, thank you for the cute and the matching shirts comment. I really appreciate that.
Yeah.
So okay,
link please. Yeah, I'll work on that.
Yeah, if you just go, if you just search Highly Articulated with a period at the end of articulated, then you'll find him.
There you go.
So, okay, let's get back on task. So, it looks like they have the vast majority of the hostiles on this ship, right? They're subdued.
Yeah, they got 5 on the ground.
Yeah, 5 on the ground. And then what happens is they missed one. Who did have that stinger, right? He gets a round off of this thing and it sets off the explosives that are down further in the ship, right? But before we get to that, I think we should talk about this line from Torpedo here, which is
you understand this? Is that what you're talking about?
Well, they're talking about sorry, they're talking about this being, non-lethal. They don't want to cause an international incident.
Right.
And the Torpedo's like, this mission is a chicken chaser, Duke. I say we sink the tub with all hands, And so he's just like, let's put this thing at the bottom of the ocean with everybody on board. Which is a plan, right? It's when things go awry, we typically have what we call COAs, right, or courses of action.
Yep.
And so when you're operating in the environment and the reality has changed, right? That the first casualty is in the body bag. The plan,
go to COA 2,
right? Go to COA 2. That happens to be torpedoes, but Duke was not as the guy in charge on the ground. Well, actually on the water, but is the
on deck? On deck?
Yeah, the guy on charge on deck, right? Was like, nah, I don't think so. I like where your head's at, but but then it winds up his plan actually winds up happening.
Yes, it does.
Due to no fault of their own. So that thing sinks, and then they wind up exfilling out of there, right? But before they make it out, on the dying breath of this one hostile, right? They're trying to get some information from this guy.
In Bulgarian, he whispers what?
Cobra. And then he does. You get killed.
One thing I will say, after so they've all gone overboard, right? So the freighter goes up, then it goes down. They said all that was left was to get gone. So you would never write that in an AAR. You would never use slang in an AAR, which I think is funny. And then the 4 packs were Flint, Torpedo, Duke, and who was the 4th?
Flint, Torpedo, and Beachhead.
So Beachhead's in the Zodiac and he says, sing out. right? And then Flint says Flint coming in, which we would do that anyway. So if we were out on patrol and we were coming back into an OP, right? We would give our challenge pass or whatever.
Near and far recognition.
Yeah, right? Near far recognition, challenge pass, whatever. And then, I would say, Xerxes coming in with 3 or whatever. And then the last man, they would say last man. And then, so Flint says Flint coming in, Torpedo, yo, Duke, yo, got a live one. Yeah. So then right off the bat, Beachhead knows, right, my 3 comrades are all alive. They're all swimming to the Zodiac, and Duke has 1 in tow. He's got some human garbage with him.
So accountability of personnel there, right? Which is always huge, right? It has to be maintained. And that's one of the things you do after after any encounter, or after, we call it a tick, right? A troops in combat. You do what's called a lace report, right? Which is liquids, ammo, casualties, and equipment. What's our water levels look like? How are we on ammo now? Are we amber? Are we red? Which is,
they didn't fire a single shot, so they're green.
So they're good on
green
that.
on ammo.
And then casualties, have we sustained any casualties on our side? And then have we lost any mission essential equipment, right? Or anything that's serialized right there. Which is going to
always maintain my arms, myself, and my equipment.
Right. So any serialized equipment, like a weapon or communications device, is what we would call SI or sensitive
items.
Yeah, sensitive items. Those
especially
have to be
in an organization like this, because you got to think of like the crypto that's involved in their communications gear.
Yeah. You don't want to. I got a really funny story about that. I don't think it's appropriate for this one, but I'm sure this is going to be an ongoing series. We'll get to that story.
We'll share some hard-earned life lessons.
It has to do with me in the woods in Hohenfels, Germany, and in the Navy SEALs. So I'll just I'll leave it at that. I'll come back to it.
If you miss any equipment on a mission, then what happens?
So
it depends on what you're talking about.
Right. And then so there's going to be an investigation. If you've lost what we consider to be SI or any serialized equipment, there's going to be an investigation as to what happened. Was it avoidable? Were you negligent with that equipment? And then the commanding, your commander is going to make a determination at the end of that investigation whether or not you were liable for the loss of that sensitive item.
Generally, so there'll be an IO assigned from another unit, generally a sister company, and an IO is the investigating officer, and blah blah blah. And then you got to get sworn statements and all this shit. You might get flippled, which means you're going to get a statement of charges for that piece of equipment.
Right.
And if it's any kind of cryptographic equipment, like hard drives from a Blue Force tracker or some kind of like a Harris radio with a fill in it or something like that, then you're dead. You're done. You're so much trouble.
Right, because at that point, once a Harris radio, or we just call it 152, once a 152 has a fill or has the cryptographic keys inside of it, right, that now has just become a sensitive item, and if it falls into the wrong hands, right, could compromise not just your own element right there in your own operational environment, but everyone else's across the entire full spectrum operations, because we all use the same crypto keys so that we can all talk to each other.
We have what's called SKLs, or simple key loaders.
Yep. And I know that because I was a ComSec custodian on my second deployment, so I had the SKL with the keys on me at all times. So I had a very, very important job of making sure that that's accounted for. Right?
Yeah, that's a super important job. I only put my most trusted E4s on that. Now.
That's what I was. I was a corporal at the time. Yeah,
for sure. Cool. All right, so to get off the boat goes down. Everybody's accounted for. Homeboy says Cobra. There we go. Right.
then you just hear blah, 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 as he goes underwater, right?
Duke's like, well,
Well, don't need you anymore.
don't need that dead weight. You're gonna row that dead weight around. All right,
Hey,
cool.
look, look, because you're gonna have to pull that Zodiac out of the water, and if you got 180 extra pounds of dead dude in there, sorry, bud, sorry, burial at sea, my guy.
Feeding the sharks.
So then we find ourselves on another boat, right? We really should have had a Navy guy come in for this one, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, they'll get there, right? They'll get there in a minute.
Yeah.
Kind of an after the fact. Right?
Chad, I feel like I've been talking a whole lot, man. You want to run us through what happens on this second vessel?
All right. So chapter 1 begins. There's a cargo container ship. It's called a Bado Strait, and it's out of Port Said. It's in the Gulf of Mexico, and it's bound for Panama. And then there's your longitude and latitude nautically, which is 24 degrees north by 90 degrees west. And then basically what's happening is that all the people in this ship, they're part of the crew, but they're down in the hold and they're going through the manifest because they're trying to rob cargo that's in the ship.
Mm-hmm.
And so they're talking about, oh, there's watches and there's supposed to be like crates full of liquor and all this stuff. But they say pallet, even though this is all crated, it's not palletized, but that's okay, whatever.
I heard there's some Target exclusive Cobra Island figures in there as well, right? We gotta
this one guy, what's his name? Jorgito. And he's like, hey, I think there's a case of Cobra Island Vipers over there. And they're like, let's go get them. Right?
And then one of his other buddies like #hustle, #make that money, right?
Yeah. Hashtag doing it for the community.
Doing it for the community, fam.
I'm helping out the community. But yeah, he straight up says, let's go shopping. Right. So then they're gonna go shopping. They find some stuff. They said they're gonna put it on the damage list. So they're basically just workers on this ship, on this cargo ship. And then they happen to uncover something that is not on the ship's manifest. And
there's some speculation.
Machine, right?
Right.
So they think it's a machine. And they say it sounds like it's humming, right? And then something is moving, and then next thing you know, one guy catches about 15 rounds, like right in his visible center mass.
Yeah. There was a very large volley and a very large volume at the same time, right? I mean, rounds are just flying through. Which usually those boats are made out of pretty thick steel.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. So I'm interested.
There'd be some spalling, some serious spalling going on there.
Yeah, you're going to catch a lot of spalling, a lot of fragmentation during that as well. I'm interested to know what caliber they were thinking that might have been. So anyway, please continue. I'm sorry.
Get to that later. Anyway, so you see from the perspective of this machine, and then immediately 3 of the guys get taken out by overwhelming fire superiority, which I feel kind of weird saying that because they're not armed.
Right? No, that they are not. So they're it's
a little bit of overkill. Yeah, I
wouldn't say that the guys on this boat are stand-up individuals. They are trying to steal from the cargo, but they are unwitting accomplices to what's actually happening here, which is transferring these very, very, very highly efficient, deadly machines that are in the cargo hold.
And the Cutthroat's asking, could it be a battle android trooper? It could be.
It could be.
See,
so this is why you need to pick this up so you can read along with us.
Rick said, no, it's 25 new versions of Snake Eyes.
we actually need the maritime one, right? With the blue and gray navy camo and stuff.
With the ocean camouflage. I don't know why they wear that.
I don't know why they would either. Why would you?
Why do you want to be camouflaged in the ocean? You should be wearing like bright orange.
Right. Yeah. If somebody does go overboard, why make it harder to spot them from the deck? If it was up to me, everybody in the Navy would be wearing bright hot pink. But that's
for
just,
lots of reasons.
Yeah. That's just my take. So
it's just Oh yeah, and the HGC says Schooner Commando Snake Eyes.
Snickies.
Yeah, Snickies. Yeah, yeah, life preservers, right? Because they're orange, right?
Right, so that it's easy to see. Oh, I have one in my close proximity. I should swim to it. Uh, whatever.
Oh, look who's here. What's up, Ryan? Good to see you, buddy.
Yeah.
I didn't get to spend enough time with you and Ryan. I spent a lot more time with you than I
Yeah.
did with Ryan.
Dude,
this
he
past
was
weekend.
over there. He was giving the people what they came for, right? He was just,
He was working
um,
his ass off. Yeah.
yeah, working his ass off at the Vala booth. We moved a whole lot of product at the AWOC booth as well. But
All I did
Ryan
was photobomb people's pictures and buy shit.
Ryan did the responsible thing, which is after, the end of the day, have a couple of beers and then take it back to the hotel room,
Yeah.
We were up doing hood rat shit. So,
Ryan's a pro, man. He likes to have fun and he'll talk shit with the best of us, but
Yeah.
Ryan's a total pro.
Yeah, he is
He's a pro dude.
Consummate
Anyway.
professional.
Yeah, consummate professional, right? No one is more professional than I.
I'm a non-commissioned potato.
The leader of French fries.
Leader of French fries.
All right, so 3 of them get smoked. One of them goes running, and he runs past these other guys, and they're like, what's gotten into you? Where are you going? And then he's like, Durka Durka, or whatever he says, and then they're like, speak English, man. Speak English or die.
Yep.
And then they all get smoked too.
Yep.
Through
And then
the
they
walls.
wind up suffering the same fate, right? Suffering the same fate.
Yeah. So whatever is murking all these people on this cargo ship, it's just moving its way. It's almost like the first Terminator in the police station, where he's just slowly moving through and he's just taking everybody.
Yep. Slowly, methodically, stacking bodies there.
Yep.
So,
and
then,
then,
but then it's a
see
mystery.
like target. Last radio contact with the Bad O Strait. 0 to 10 hours. I guessing that's still Greenwich Mean Time because it doesn't say, or it's local.
Yep.
And then they say EPIRB, which is emergency position indicating radio beacon, which might be the maritime version of our PLBs, our locator beacons.
That's more maritime talk, to be honest. But I think what's interesting about this page, before we skip over to
it's called an ISO, not a Connex, Jeremy. Actually,
yeah, right. But I think what's interesting about this page right here is that the artist gives us the impression that this is something that is mechanical in nature, right?
Yep.
You're seeing it through its point of view with a red visor, and stuff like that. So Chris from Cutthroat, you could be onto something as far as it being a bat, right? It wasn't going to be a loaded potato.
I get it, loaded.
Yeah,
and then ML Series says you were not taking it easy on Saturday. No, you were not.
Hey man, they're like, what happens to Joe Fest stays Joe Fest.
And then Samuel says Cato did all the work for Saturday for Jeremy.
I beg to differ. So
I mean, I saw him over there, but
yeah.
Anyway,
looking like a ferret.
It's not very nice.
Hey, look, he said he wanted to be in the AWOC line, and you got to be an animal, and I was like, ferret for sure. It's a joke.
Ferrets are rad animals anyway.
It's a joke, Kato. I love you, dude.
Okay, cool. So, yes, visor. Looking for some form of visory, right? Some form of optics that's not normal vision.
Yeah,
that's all we know.
So that takes us over to the next page, where we find an unmasked Beachhead and Duke performing what we call PT, or physical training, right? So they're outside the pit, getting a run in.
And in this version, the pit is in Nevada, and it's not at Fort Wadsworth, New Jersey, which I found that kind of interesting. Nevada makes sense, right? Because you have a lot of open space in Nevada. You got Area 51. Area 51 is a real place, right? You got all those places out there. So Nevada makes a lot of sense, more so than Wadsworth, New Jersey, right?
I could see that as well. And then essentially with the pit being an underground facility, anyway, it would be really easy to hide that from ISR in the middle of the Nevada desert, right? So so that's cool. So they're all they're having
what's an AWOLK?
An AWOLK? that's when you go outside and you take a walk, right?
Yeah. I need to take a walk. ahead.
A walk. So speaking of go outside and taking an a walk, Beachhead
Duke.
and Duke are performing PT. Looks like they're in BDU pants with tan t-shirts on.
Boots and Utes run, baby.
They got a very, very complicated camelback going on. There's a lot of stuff happening there.
Yeah, that's one of those like super high speed hydration carriers where it's not just a camelback; it's the one that has like, all your little licky chewy pouches and stuff.
Right. And the bladder is in like the very like it's in there, but it's got a whole bunch.
It's a little much. It's a
little much. So they go down. They're having like this very, very like almost like a philosophical conversation about things, right?
Hang on. Plus, it's near the Mirage, and they have a topless pool. Do they really? Rick, is that true? Because I was just in Vegas. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So yeah, they're going down into the pit, and they're kind of having this conversation about what I guess they miss about before they became Joes.
Yeah, like what do you miss? The way that I interpreted this conversation between Duke and Beachhead is kind of like all of the conversations that we all have downrange. Like, what's the first thing you're gonna do when you go back home? And it's always like, what are you gonna watch? What are you gonna eat? And a female, right?
Right. Yeah.
So you always talk about like your lady, or I'm gonna go find a girl, or whatever, right? Your personal circumstances.
Mm-hmm.
All the places you're gonna go eat.
Mm-hmm.
And then well, this movie came out since we've been downrange, and I want to see this, or I'm going to watch this, or, fucking Game of Thrones or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah.
So just things like that. So that's how I interpreted this conversation. It was like, well, what's the first thing you're going to do?
Yeah.
Whereas Duke's saying, I miss this. This is what I would do. I would just lie in bed and listen to my neighbor's lawnmower and the birds. And Beachhead says what? I can't remember any of that.
Which is interesting because they make the Joes seem more like the Men in Black, right? Who you join the organization, like you're no longer amongst the regular people anymore at all. But anyway, right. I found it a little weird, but okay, I'm willing to work with it. It's fine.
In that bottom panel, right? So when they walk into the Quonset hut, and you see that the security camera's watching them, and Beachhead it almost sounds like what Beachhead is saying is that he had lost his memory.
Right. So I don't know if there was like a big TBI or something that happened with him, and so portions of things are gone now, which is maybe something that they're going to get into a little bit later on, because this is like a soft IDW reboot, right?
Right.
We're just finding out about, Cobra is a whisper on the wind.
Yeah. And we're in chapter 1 of volume 1.
Right. Duke is a sergeant first class and not the first sergeant, stuff like that. So we may get into that a little bit later. Right.
And that's where Beachhead says, like, what I miss is being able to remember what I miss.
Right.
Right. I get flashes, pictures, but I can't put it together.
Okay.
And then Duke apologizes, so you could tell there was some sort of incident that caused that. They don't really. There is no on the nose explanation of it.
So I'm sure we're going to get into it. Chuck Dixon's a professional, so I'm sure he's not going to leave that or leave us just hanging in the wind on that. So
yeah.
And then we do learn, another thing to lead us, not lead us to believe, but just put you back in the mindset that this is the very beginning of things. They both get recognized on their way down to the pit, right? The facial recognition welcomes them to the pit. E6 Beachhead and E7 Duke, right? Yep. So coming from the Army, that would be a staff sergeant and a sergeant first class.
That's you and me.
Hey! I'll go grab a green balaclava and
Burla Clover.
A Burla Clover.
if you had some OD tidy whities, you could just tie it up real quick. I don't have the hair to be Duke. Whatever. It's cool.
Yeah. That could hurt you as far as cosplay is concerned. So, but
that's
what's
why
interesting
I could never do
is
a Chuckles, man. I'd have to wear a wig.
I mean, that's easy. It just get itchy when you get hot, So they're continuing this conversation, and Beachhead is talking about how He feels that things are a little bit stale, right?
Yep.
How you have the tip of the spear, tier 1 organization like Joe, and they're sending them after these rookies, right? Like I was talking about the guy on the boat with his relaxed weapons posture, right?
Sending us against mutts that the Girl Scouts could take out.
Right. These are not pros. They probably don't do this for a living, right? And so he's kind of like, I guess, expressing his concerns about that, like they're not being utilized to their full potential, right? And he's got an issue with that, which is a real world thing that happens as well, right? You get stagnant, especially or you get complacent, right? The longer that you've been in an operational environment, the more ticks that you've been in, and you're like, hey, this is amateur hour every time. But then the second you let your guard down, all of a sudden, like you're enveloped. Like some nonsense, like that. So, which is a very common story.
That's weird.
Yeah. I guess we could talk about that a little bit later too. So, so Chad, why don't you take us through the next encounter with the we meet another member of the Joe team here.
Yeah. So I did find it interesting that you made a Men in Black reference.
Mm-hmm.
And then Beachhead actually says, we're supposed to be the best of the best of the best. You remember in the first Men in Black, he's like, Captain America over here, the best of the best of the best with honors.
With honors. Does the Aussie salute,
Sir, he has like no idea why we're here. Okay, cool. So there's a really awesome 2-panel wide shot of the pit underground. And you see the 6-wheel drive Desert Fox, which I have sitting right over there on the floor behind my armor bot. And then you see all sorts of other vehicles. You see a Havoc. You see, by this time they're called Eagle Hawks. But you see the rotary wing or the helos up there. You see a Mobat. You see a Skyhawk being trailered in. So there's a really cool establishing shot of the pit. And the way that they make the pit look is it's actually got like large buildings that almost look like skyscrapers underground.
Right. We're talking about an entire like underground city.
This is a city. Yeah.
And by the tops of those buildings, I'm going to say 1,200 feet, maybe something like that.
They're pretty tall. But
yeah, it's a very, very sophisticated operation. That's going on down here.
Yeah, very well established. But so anyway, so we have the establishing shots of the pit. And then this version, or this female that's in the Desert Fox, the 6-wheel drive, that is actually the female dial tone. So that again gets carried over because dial tone in G.I. Joe Resolute was a female. It was Jill Morelli, which is the sister of the original dial tone, Jack Morelli.
Right.
And so I think it's cool that they kind of carried it over because she carried over into the action figures as well.
Yep. So. I think there's a couple of cool carryovers as well that we're going to get to since I overread that we're going to get to later as well.
Look, Plastic Mercenary said, I don't like my Desert Fox with skid marks on the seat. Skid mark. And he's sitting right on my desk because he was my co-pilot home from Joe Fest, actually. And then what's up, Will, man? Good to see you here. I'm sorry, I got to interrupt for a second. Dude, I'm so sorry I didn't come into your thing. He was talking about new O-ring lines, and dude, I got behind. I was almost late to our thing. And
wait, did he go live earlier?
Yeah, he went live at an hour before we did. It was supposed to be at 6:15, but it was at 6, and I was kind of running behind. So anyway, but Shauna's here all the way from New Jersey. What's up, Shauna? Good to see you.
I'll have to go back and check that out. I'm sure there was a lot of Delta 17 talk going on.
Oh yeah, probably. I just, it sucks I missed it.
Yeah,
Jim Largo's here. What's up? And Wilhelm is here. And then Will says, kind of like Megaforce's headquarters. Yes, that's why I say Megaforce is the best G.I. Joe that's not G.I. Joe. Cool. And then Jim Largo says, boys are looking awfully spiffy and battle dressed, but the Hawaiian shirts have more swagger. You mean this?
Okay. I mean, I could see it. I'm still waiting on my Chuckles holster. I did purchase it. It just hasn't come in yet, right? So I'm waiting to do the whole thing.
This is pretty much for Jim, but for everybody who's listening, the first episode, I had a T-shirt on. Jeremy shows up in a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses, right? So we adapt and overcome. So for tonight's episode, I had a Hawaiian shirt and sunglasses. Yeah. Fucking homeboy shows up in a combat shirt, and I'm like, oh, wait one. And I run and get a combat shirt. So I don't know what we're going to be in next time. So episode 3, what are wife beaters?
Yeah, maybe. Or something that we could possibly do is maybe have a conversation about how the show's going to go more than 10 minutes before we go live, right? Maybe if we did a little bit of preparation, right? We could coordinate things.
1/3 planning, 2/3 preparation.
Yeah,
that's how that's supposed to go, huh?
Hey, I got to take 2 minutes. I'll be back. I'll be right back.
Okay, you take your 2 minutes. I'm going to talk to the chat. Jeremy needs a break. He's working really hard doing nothing. Will says, Steve from Delta 7. Oh, was he? Man, that's cool. That's really awesome. I will definitely go catch a replay of that. Dana Geeks here. What is up, dude? And what does Rick have to say? Watching Megaforce while being bitten by an actual cobra would be better than any of the Joe movies we've been given. Yes, absolutely. Steve from Delta Force came on. Yeah, you already said that. Okay. Here you go, Rick. This is for you, dude. Like a Megaforce. There you go. I always keep a copy handy, no matter where I am. I got a copy of Megaforce. Anyway, yeah, just waiting on Jeremy to come back. So I'm just gonna move along. So again, we have our establishing shots of the pit, and the female dial tone, Jill Morelli, comes up on the Desert Fox, and she needs Duke. She tells Duke, "I've been looking for you. Your locator signal went dead." So in the military, we have these things that are called PLBs. Depending on the operating environment that we're in, we carry a personal locator beacon, and they are they're satellite linked. And so if you ever get in danger of being captured or you get separated from your element, you can pull out your PLB and hit it, and that signal goes directly to the Pentagon, and then somebody in the Pentagon is going to pick up the phone, and they're going to make some phone calls because your locator's going off. So that's kind of what she's talking about. And then Duke says that he was outside the pit, and dial tone lets him know that Scarlet needs to see him. And then this is when you first start getting the indications that there was a relationship between Duke and Scarlet.
Ooh, whoa.
I just kept going.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Go ahead.
I'm to the point where dial tone says that Scarlet needs to see Duke, and then you get the first indications that there was some sort of relationship between Duke and Scarlet.
What is it? Is it tactical or is it operational? What did he say?
Yeah. She says, anyway, they want you in the think tank, right? Because Scarlet, right? She has that genius level IQ. She means Scarlet wants you, is what Beachhead says, and it emphasizes Scarlet. And then Duke says, I know what she means. Beachhead says, is it strategic or tactical?
Yeah, there you go.
Then Duke says, when are you going to learn Scarlet is always strategic?
Yeah.
So this is when we get introduced to Scarlet.
I'll double your entendre, right?
Oh.
And you know the thing I like about Scarlet as we go through the panels is that even though she's wearing a piece of armor on her chest, in certain panels, that piece of armor still manages to form cleavage, right? Which I think is very interesting. So.
You do remember the hundreds of millions of dollars wasted on the female sappy plates, correct?
No. They made ones with curvature in them?
Yeah.
No. Okay, I can understand that. There's like sometimes her armor has cleavage in it. Yeah. Yeah, it's like you see the line like straight down the center. Anyway,
you see it right here. You see it right in this panel. Look at it. Boop. I don't know how rigid that is supposed to be. That's the thing, right? When you look at it in print, yeah, when you look at it in print, is it supposed to be like, what is it? Is it just like that 9mm padding?
Oh, you do like soft armor?
Yeah, you know, for it's just for like shrapnel and 9mm.
It would still be hard to form cleavage even in that, right? But anyway,
If she was
sorry. It was just something that I kept noticing, right?
yeah. Highly articulated. Can we talk about civilians wearing combat clothing?
We can, yeah.
Sure. Neither one of
you-
us are civilians, so I don't. I'm sure that wasn't. I'm sure that wasn't directed at us.
Armor cleavage is somehow still a thing.
Kevlar corset.
Yeah, there you go.
Look at it. Malibu Snake Eyes is gonna be bullshit. Anyway, okay, so moving on.
Yeah.
So this is where we get introduced to Scarlet in the think tank, which I guess is kind of like their. It looks like a talk, like a tactical operations center.
Right. Yeah.
Even though they called it a think tank, I would think that that's two different things because think tank kind of seems like a research center to me. But
well,
we're just going to go with think.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things that I'm willing to give a total pass on. Right, whatever their operational vernacular or their operational language is that's specific to their own organization. It's I'm willing to let it go.
Nashville, you wear whatever the hell you want. You know who that is? This guy right here, this guy Nashville Living. This guy's name. Okay, I don't want to dime out his government name, right? His God-given name, but
right.
This guy and I served together, and I love this dude to death.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for being here, Nashville Living.
You don't even know. No, I know. Trust me, I know, man. You know that I know that you know that I know what is up. Anyway, thanks for being here, brother.
What he said something about the fridge.
No, he said I'll wear combat clothing if I friggin' wanna.
Oh, frig. Okay, sorry. I guess I misread it.
And then JLS says BRA stands for ballistic resistant armor.
There you go. Sounds good to me, man.
Cool. Yeah. Cool. Very cool. Thank you for being here, man. I love you so much. Yeah. Where's your fucking combat buddies? Leaving you high and dry.
Are you talking to me?
Yeah, I'm talking to you.
Oh yeah, I really don't have. I mean, there's a couple, right? But the vast majority of the people that I know within the community, they're out already. They've been out for a while. I'm
just kidding. Anyway, so moving on, right?
Yeah.
Scarlet think tank introduction to her, and she's talking to Shipwreck and Deep Six, who are going to do a little underwater snooping and pooping, right? So they're doing a little underwater reconnaissance of that ship that was just attacked by whoever it was or whatever it was, right?
Yeah. Now, would you say that this would be an SSE or a TSE on this one?
I don't think there's no tactical value because it's at the bottom of the ocean. So I would say it's a sensitive side exploitation.
I'm inclined to agree with you guys. It would be an SSE.
Because like anything tactical is either we're going to take it and hold it, or there's some kind of advantage for us to be there, right? This is just at the bottom of the ocean, and they explain how it hasn't been at the bottom for more than 12 hours because the connexes are still leaking air.
Right. And
so they're basically just going down, right? They're just getting some kind of whatever they can, right? So
yes, very cool observation on. Yeah. What I was going to say, very, very cool observation from Shipwreck, right? Something I would have never thought about. So,
and this version of Shipwreck is a lot more professional than, the discount Christian Slater, discount Jack Nicholson that we got in the cartoons.
Hey there, that doesn't sound like a job.
Hey, Lady J, you want my javelin? Yo, Joe.
Yeah.
It sucks so bad, dude.
I still love him though, man.
Yeah, but whatever. Anyway, so they go down. They make their observations, right? They're doing their SSE for their sensitive side exploitation, and there is a whole lot of bodies floating around down there. Yeah. A whole lot of bodies.
Yeah.
So, and then they also start noticing what does he say? So there's 3 of them down there. It's torpedo, deep six, and shipwreck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I thought it was just shipwreck and deep six. So there's 3 of them down there. He's talking about automatic fire, lots of it. That there's blast damage forward on the vehicle. Entering the main cargo hold, they're asking if it's pirates. Talking about train your camera on that cargo, and that's where they retrieve that whatever it was, piece of high-tech equipment that this shadowy operative came out of in some degree or another.
Yeah, whatever scuttled this ship, right, is down there. And look, I got to say, the attention to detail, right, on shipwreck and deep six and all of them, right, their integrated communication mass and all that stuff. The rebreathers, all of that stuff looks fantastic. So, really good on them for doing their homework. It looks absolutely great.
Plastic Mercenary. Is this normal shipwreck or version 2 who went to Buds for a week and came back as Seal? He looks more like version 2 shipwreck, which is actually a really freaking awesome figure.
Yeah.
And then Largo's Lair. What is Shipwreck's primary MOS? You tell us, buddy. Go to 3djoes.com and look at this file card right now and let us know.
I think sailors have a rate. They don't have an MOS, right?
Yeah, we're MOS is Army.
Yeah. Sailor would have a rate.
In the Air Force, it's what, AOC, AOSC?
Oh, I have no idea. Absolutely no idea. The only time I've ever run into the Air Force was at what was the nicer base in Kuwait? Arif John. Yeah, I ran into the Air Force at we just refer to it as AJ, but Camp Arif John there, and they were like had creases in their pants, you know what I mean? Like all their females had enough makeup to look like they were going to prom.
Always been. Well, I live on an Air Force base, so I see it every day.
Yeah. Sorry, but yeah, it's totally gross. But that's and then having aviation assets in the field, and then talking to them over comms. That's the only interaction that I've ever had with the Air Force.
This is Shipwreck's primary job: watching women water ski via binos. All right. Anyway, so you were talking about their gear.
Yeah, I was just saying, kudos to the artist for doing his homework, and making that look, pretty legit.
Yep, very cool. And then so Hawk shows up in the think tank, asking Scarlet any idea what that thing is, because that's where they find that piece of equipment or machinery or whatever this thing is, because that is not normal cargo. So it draws their attention during their SSE, and Tall Geese Zero is here with the 225 super chat. Thank you, my friend. It says coffee fun.
Coffee fun.
I will take
appreciate that. Thank you for being here.
Yeah. And then Patrick from Big Bacon is here, giving the standard Kevin greeting.
As someone who purchased the selfie series, I am obligated to return the hi. Okay, so there you have it. Hey.
Yeah, PultCon exclusive, already sold out. Too late.
No.
Too bad, so sad. Cool. So then they find this piece of equipment. Hawk's interested in it. Scarlet has no idea what it is. Duke comes in the room because Duke was summoned, right? Even though he don't work for Scarlet. He could basically say, like, you're not in my food chain. I'll show up when I want to show up.
No, you don't sell my NCOR.
No, no. You're not the boss of me. No. You don't rate this shit. That being said, as soon as he walks in the room, right, Hawk kind of gets him. Doesn't necessarily look like a shark attack, and I don't know why he's saluting him, because he's not reporting. He's just saluting in a room. No one's wearing headgear.
Yep. They are indoors. It's. I mean, I think they're both under arms, but it's interesting.
They're all under arms. Duke's got a freaking grenade on his chest.
That's true. He does have a grenade on his chest.
Anyway, so this is when we first start hearing a conversation regarding Cobra versus just that dying little maritime insurgent guy.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So Hawk says there's been a spike in background noise mentioning Cobra. So that's when you hear vernacular like background noise, that's when you start getting into like the 3-letter agencies, right? Your CIA, your NSA, and all that stuff, right?
Yep, all the
They're
alphabet soup.
Yeah, alphabet boys.
Yeah, we call them the alphabet boys, BOIZ, right?
BOIs.
Who I have, I did have the unfortunate luck of running into in some of my adventures downrange.
I did too.
Yeah, it's God, I really dislike them, but anyway.
Oh. So yeah, Rick says it's Spaceball rules in the pit. Sorry, sir. I'm trying my best.
Who made that man a gunner?
I did.
Surrounded by assholes, right? So yeah, so this is the first time they're talking about this who or what this Cobra is.
Yeah, and that's exactly what he says. I need to know who or what Cobra is. Is it a person? Is it a code for a terrorist operation? Which kind of makes sense, right? He's not really jumping to any conclusions.
Yeah, I mean, you could have, Cobra could be the term for an operation as well, like Operation Cobra, right?
Operation Painted Horse.
Operation Painted Horse, right? It could be one person, it could be an organization, could be operational language. So yeah, lots of things in the air, lots of things. But what I like at the end of this is this last panel before we switch over. Duke says, "I just wish Snake Eyes was here. He likes this kind of stuff." Right. Yeah. And so like anytime Snake Eyes gets mentioned, I'm like, like it's probably time for something cool to happen.
GI Jesus. He's on approach.
Yeah. So then we get to so the next location that we go to 10 miles south of Yalta on the Black Sea, the Crimean Riviera. So you find this very, very swanky kind of villa
super
here.
Mansion.
Yeah, super mansion, super villa. And you have this one individual that's on the line with an unnamed person, but is talking about the logistics behind these ships, right?
Yep.
How he's not responsible for them going down and all that stuff. And then the other person is very he's very insistent upon figuring out exactly what his physical location is.
Yeah. Are you at home, Nico?
Yeah. Right? Are you at home, by the way?
Give me a grid.
Yeah. I don't need a 10. You can give me an 8-digit. That's fine. And so, but he really wants to know he really wants to know his physical location.
Yeah.
And as we kind of get into a little bit of him shirking off what his response or his him not being responsible for these, the tankers and this freight going to the bottom of the ocean.
He's trying to renegotiate his roles and responsibilities in this whole thing.
right. And with a very, very thick accent at the same time. This not my problem, Yeah. And then all of a sudden there's just a whir of wind, right?
Yep.
Things around the room just start flying around in a circular manner.
And then
he yells an expletive in a language that I can't read right there. Yeah, it's got a couple of backwards R's in it and stuff like that.
There's some clicks. There's definitely clicks in there.
Yeah. Not Toys R Us though, not that backwards R. We're talking about
no.
Maybe like a Slavic dialect.
That's some Eastern Bloc kind of shit, right?
Yeah, some Eastern Bloc backwards R bullshit.
And then we get our first view of our main antagonist, homeboy, right there.
So he materializes out of nowhere, right? And then just starts clapping folks.
Yep, there he is. He's just putting in work.
Right.
The interesting thing about this guy, and this is something I want to hover on this for a second because they did a really good job setting up this character, and it gets you invested in the rest of this volume because you don't find out until right about that page all the way back there who that character actually is,
or the method in which he got there, which I think
how he makes movement.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
So some long-term fans of Joe can kind of know where that's going already, right? We've kind of dabbled in that in the old Sunbow days a little bit as well too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So it's a nice callback.
See, I almost said something that would have just dead given it away. And
yeah.
I'm trying to not. Don't read ahead, people. Go through it with us.
But look, everybody that's here is hopefully here because you're a fan of Joe. So, and you have been for a long time. So you may be quicker to recognize what happened than I was when I was reading back through it. So, but yeah.
That being said, this is kind of where I was going. If you see Pendragon's comment, it gets you invested in this volume, in these comics, and this overarching story, because when you look at this antagonist, right meow, stupid camera, it kind of looks like Firefly, it kind of looks like Wraith. There's a lot of, right, because we were talking about Wraith earlier,
right? Yeah,
if you look at the physical characteristics of this antagonist, I mean, it could be Wraith, it could be Firefly, it could be a bunch of people.
It's not it's too okay. I get the goggles, right?
Yeah,
you maybe think that it's Firefly. But then I was like, because I called Chad. I was in such a state of confusion. I called Chad and I was like, is there some type of portal viper that I don't know about or remember? Like maybe I had that knowledge at one point and it got pushed out of the way by something else. And then he was like, dude, I'm pretty sure that's Wraith. And I was like, yeah. But anyway, we'll do it. We'll leave it at that, man. We'll leave it at that. So anyway, this guy materializes. This individual materializes, shoots up everybody that's on the premises, right? Yeah. And then appears to disintegrate.
Yeah.
Right. And
immediately he credit cards this guy. Like immediately he just pops him.
Yeah.
If you guys don't know what the term credit card means, if you take a credit card, right, and you put it right here, that's a credit card, right? So
so yeah, shoots up the whole place and then like disintegrates into dust essentially that's on the ground, right?
And then so here he is blasting right here, and then here's where you see him start basically dematerializing.
Now the other thing to note about this as well is that the intended target, I believe, which is this Nico individual, the one that was shirking his part and being responsible for these shipments and boats being sunk. He
very much reminds me of Tom Cruise's character from Tropic Thunder.
Oh,
just Les Grossman,
just like yeah, but like 300 pounds lighter, right? Or like maybe like 200.
Diet Coke. Yeah,
yeah, but he actually he survives the hit there.
And then you see the feet of whoever the assailant is standing at the top of the stairs, watching him get away.
So we see a foot, right? And then we see this foot again, and it's in a tiptoed position, right? Mm-hmm. Somebody who does a little bit of, peeping and creeping, right? A little snooping and pooping, right?
Yeah.
So somebody that's tiptoeing around, very
maybe someone who does a little ninja action. That guy right there.
I mean, somebody did say his name 2 pages ago, so it's it was gonna happen. It's like Beetlejuice. You say his name enough, he'll show up.
But so he's inspecting this pile of dust or whatever with some weapons in it.
Right. But something else to take into account as well. The rest of the Joe team is trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Mm-hmm. Snake Eyes is already on target. Like he's on scene when this happens. Right. Mm-hmm. So, but we are going to find out a little bit later. He may be off the reservation. Right.
Yeah.
But that's a term for he's gone rogue. He's AWOL. Right?
He's a little AWOL. Yeah.
He's unaccounted for.
Speaking of AWOL.
Dude, do you want to get into that, man?
No, I really don't.
This is how important Joe Fest is to Chad. Is that go ahead, man. I don't want to steal your thunder, dude.
So apparently I went AWOL
to go to Joe Fest.
Yeah. It's not like I intentionally went AWOL.
Right.
So that being said, you and I discussed like the whole bureaucracy in my battalion and how like I have to send my leave request to the S1, and then they're like some intermediary approval, and then it comes back to me, and then I send it to the AO, which is an administrative officer. But here's the screwed up thing: Memorial Day weekend, 4-day pass.
Mm-hmm.
Yesterday, I got the email saying that I was put on pass.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so you were good. You're fine.
But that was for Memorial Day.
Oh, so there's,
see what I'm saying? Like, that's how laggy my leave system is in my battalion.
Yeah, so that's
so it's not like I was like, yeah, I'm just gonna go AWOL. It's just that like their shit is like that slow. I didn't even get the notification that I was put on pass for Memorial Day weekend until yesterday.
Yeah. So more than likely you're going to come out on the back end of it just fine. But what's interesting is that the S1 should be the last place that it goes to in order to get your control number, right? So it should go to the approving authority, get the signature, then it goes to S1. S1 assigns a control number to it, and then it comes back down to you when you just, you leave. So I'm not sure why it needs to go to S1 first. That's
because I'm a senior NCO and I'm the boss of my section. I work for the AO.
Right. Yeah.
I work for one dude. Yeah. And that's it.
Who's also the approving authority for your leave, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't work for the S1.
Yeah. But I just want anybody out there that's listening to this. Chad is so committed to Joe Fest that he went AWOL to be there. Okay. Like you have to get your priorities straight. Like you have to.
Don't be like me.
Okay, so
I'm gonna give you the clap back. It wasn't intentional, Jeremy.
Yeah, that's true, right? So if there is an investigation into it, right? Intent matters, right?
Well, so does patterns, right? I have no pattern of conduct of anything like that. There are no patterns of misconduct in my career.
Patterns of felonious behavior, right? Patterns of misconduct.
So Plastic Mercenary says Snake Eyes is a Ronin at this point in the story.
Yeah, he's a warrior with no master.
And Black Knight, what is up, dude? From Hella Dope Toys says, I need Jeremy to repeat everything he said from the beginning. Actually, it's repeat means fire again. Thank you.
I'll just start throwing out a whole bunch of acronyms, right? Because that's all this entire show has been. But yeah, man, we're at an hour and 42.
Hey, did you get your NOS for that AOR yet, or what? We're just throwing out action.
Sure, yeah, sure. I was like, wait, what?
Notification of sourcing for your area of responsibility.
No, I did not.
Okay, anyway, so yeah, let's boogie through this, right? So Snake Eyes shows up. He's investigating, what is this pile of ash or whatever's going on over Ashy Larry? Right?
Now,
so he's investigating Ashy Larry.
SSE or TSE?
This is TSE.
That's your call, right? This is a bit more deliberate in nature, right?
Well, not only because this is like a physical location that isn't at the bottom of the ocean, but you got somebody alive right there. That is tactical advantage right there. Right?
Yep. I'm inclined to agree with that. This would be tactical side exploitation, right?
100%, because there was just an engagement there moments prior.
Mm-hmm.
Because Snake Eyes saw Nico leave. So he was probably like on ground as like this whole two-way shooting gallery was going on.
Oh yeah. As soon as stuff stopped popping in there, Snake Eyes is creeping through.
Jeremy.
Mm-hmm.
Random Stuff Garage is here now, so we can start.
Okay.
Ready to start over?
Yep, from
3,
the beginning.
2,
Let's go.
1. Okay, so here we are. We're going to talk about the prologue.
Make sure to smash that subscribe button.
Help us with the algorithm because
the stupid Al Gore and his rhythm.
Yeah. Jenna Geek says Chad has his priorities straight. Joe Fest takes priority when Sarge, Zazel, and Hans are there. Yeah, but an Article 15 doesn't. I'm pretty much like Brad Pitt in Inglourious Bastards. Like, yeah, I'll probably get an Article 15. I had an Article 15 before. I hope I don't, but anyway.
If you're going to retire from the Army, you're going to have at least one.
I have
at
one.
some point. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You're gonna have to have at least one.
I got an Article 15. I got a Gomar. I got a motherfucking Purple Heart though.
Yeah, there's that, right? There's
there is that baby.
That will speak on your behalf in a lot of different situations. So
or the Purple Heart don't play. I think that's the first time I've actually said that.
Maybe,
yeah. Ooh,
yeah, it could be.
Strike that. Take that back. Anyway, cool.
So yeah, Snake Eyes is coming through. There's one guy left alive, right? Talks about how a ghost had just come through. Now, if you look at the page on the left, right? If you look at the guy who's bleeding out on the ground,
right,
and then you go to the other page and look at the top right panel, there wasn't that blood on the wall behind him back then. Did Snake Eyes just like off this dude, like help him on his way out the door?
I think it's his wall slide as he dies.
You think so? Okay, it could be, maybe. But
because
I noticed
it's kind of a
right. Yeah, I noticed that, and I was like, Snake Eyes he's the ferryman, He helped him on to the next whatever plane of existence he's headed to.
One thing I will say about Snake Eyes, though, if you notice in this bottom panel on the left page, right? So this guy, he's mortally injured. You can see all the blood on the floor, right? So that's exsanguination, right? So he is just bleeding out. But he does have a weapon parallel to the marching surface aimed right at Snake Eyes. All Snake Eyes has in his hand is a bladed weapon. But that being said, just because we are capable of great violence doesn't mean that we always have to execute great violence, right? You understand that. So I think that speaks volumes to Snake Eyes' character, where he doesn't just murk that guy. Like, he actually goes over and he sheaths his sword because he's going to try to help him.
Right. Yeah.
So that's just something I wanted to point out. And then, the guy gives Snake Eyes a little bit of cryptic information, like a ghost. He vanished. You are also like Ghost, right? And then he dies.
Mm-hmm.
And then once again, we're back in the pit. Sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we're back to the pit. It's like Snake Eyes gathered up a whole bunch of that dust and that weapon that was on the ground, and sent it to the think tank, right? They weren't exactly sure who sent it until they found a little. Yeah, Scarlet finds a little note taped to the bag that's got
Snake Eyes.
Yeah, it's got Snake Eyes. It's got 2 dice,
which is interesting that it is 2 one-sided die and not the Arashikage symbol.
They could, yeah, okay, yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think this is a bit more cryptic, though.
Yeah.
It's a bit more cryptic in nature. So, which I thought was a really cool thing to put in there.
I thought it was cool because it's just 2 boxes and 2 dots.
Two Snake Eyes, man,
Yeah. Let me answer this real quick. So it's actually GOMOR.
Yeah.
General Officer Memorandum of Record. Yeah. It basically means a GO put a nasty letter in my permanent record.
Yeah, one that's not coming back out either.
That's okay. I don't give a shit about Gomar. Random Stuff Garage is asking what page are we on? 2627.
Yeah, 2627. About to flip over to 28, right? Yeah. So last bottom right panel, page 27.
Yeah. So he rat fucks some package and he sends it through the postal service, right? Because why not? Right?
Yes. So somehow he knows the address to get it to the think tank inside the pit, right? So, but I guess if anybody's going to know how to expedite a delivery straight to the pit, it's going to be Snake Eyes, right? So they're all super curious about all this stuff, and then Dusty comes in. Dusty wants to have a conversation about something,
and it's cool to see Dusty in greens.
Yeah, it's very cool. I like it.
Yeah, because he's in more like a garrison kind of uniform. So if anybody's not tracking what we're talking about, that's Dusty. And Dusty's he's just in like old school, like almost late 70s, early 80s era greens. He's not in his desert BDUs or anything like that.
Man, I'm gonna go with like late 60s, early 70s kind of Vietnam era. To be honest with you, look at the cap he's wearing.
Well, it also has a zipper, so whatever. You know?
Yeah, there's that, but it's in that style, right? In that style, my opinion. But
Ted Darklaw popped in and says, "Hey guys, stuck at work tonight. We'll catch you all on replay. You better."
hey, hopefully,
thanks, Ted.
hopefully that work is getting orders ready to go because Hella Dope Toys is straight bussin', right? So hopefully that's the work. Hopefully that's the work he's putting in tonight.
Yeah, and if you guys aren't shopping from Hella Dope Toys or watching their YouTube streams Sunday after me, figure that shit out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely hit them up.
That being said, I didn't get a mug, so fuck you, Ted.
Ooh.
I'm just kidding. No, the gun did not disintegrate, but I don't know if that was aimed at us.
But it was in the process of. That's what. I'm sorry, I jumped ahead a little bit.
Yeah, sorry. Are you gonna rephrase?
Yeah, the gun had not completely broken apart at the molecular level the way that everything else had. So you still have that weapon in there, although not at its original quality.
Right, because Dialtone makes a comment that it looks like an iron, and then Scarlett says it looks like it's made out of some kind of frangible material. Frangible meaning it would fall apart.
Right. Yep.
Yeah. But it had not. And then it's interesting that Scarlett says, run this back to CBN, right? Charlie Bravo November. So I guess that CBN is what they call CBER.
Right. So chemical, biological, nuclear.
Radiological, nuclear. Yeah,
right.
CBER.
So I know CBERN, right? Yeah. So yeah, chemical, biological, radiation, and nuclear. I guess
which used to be NBC for nuclear, biological, chemical.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I guess they want to see if this thing is giving off any type of radiation, which is maybe something to consider before you started manhandling it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I guess whatever. It makes sense though, right? That maybe they have some type of spectrometer they can look at it with to determine what the material consists of, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. They want to make sure that it's not radiological or nuclear in powered or anything like that. And they talk about it on this panel as well. Mm-hmm. They've got it hoisted up. And Random Stuff Garage says, I was thinking CBERN as well. And that's what it is, because earlier in another panel, right here, where Dialtone's talking about the package they received from Snake Eyes, she says, Scarlett, this came through back channels for you. It looks like it came through the post office. And then she says CBN with a little asterisk, says it checks clean, chemical, biological, nuclear, which maybe that's just the Joe version of CBERN, but we all have what are called CBERN NCOs, which they're the non-commissioned officers in our company who handle all chemical, biological, radiological, and nuclear materials, to include lensatic compasses and things like that, because they actually use a little bit of irradiated material in them. And Jeremy's still gone, so cool. I'm actually just going to keep going. Thank you. So, and then Dusty comes into the think tank and he's talking to Scarlett. Ultimately, it's a security thing. The general says it's your call because Scarlett's in charge of this operation. And then she cracks another joke how her code name should be multitask, and Dusty doesn't get the joke. Then they go down and she's asking us about the technology that Shipwreck salvaged, and Dusty's explaining that's pretty special stuff. And again, we get another wide view of the pit. You can see a vamp that's kind of up in the rack, and you see another vamp here in the background. And then there's a Wolverine way up there just kind of cruising. So basically she's saying, give me the Wikipedia entries. So she wants like the cliff notes of what's going on. No rads, no bugs. So it's not giving off radiation, and it is not bugged. It's not sending or receiving any kind of signal, but it does have an interdependent power source. My guess is it's a hydrogen cell. And so they're kind of deciding as a group, this is what we call the conference discussion learning environment. They're trying to figure out together, like, what are we going to do with this thing? And then Duke comes up with the Duke idea, which is weird because when they were on this ship, Duke was the one who was kind of restrained. And now Duke says, I say, drag it out into the desert, lay a couple of pounds of Semtex underneath it. Mm-hmm. So Duke just wants to detonate it, which I found interesting because on the ship, it was everybody else who just wanted to start hotting fools.
Mm-hmm.
And Duke didn't want to.
Yeah.
So And then Scarlet basically says she'll sign off on it. And then here on this page, which is page 30, we get another one of those little interactions between Scarlet and Duke, where it kind of gives the underlying tones of their past relationship or some kind of
maybe
sexual tension.
A bit of tension there, right? Possibly a friction point between the two.
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, of a friction point of a non-professional nature between these two military professionals, right?
But see, he's not the first sergeant, so they're good.
That's true, right? That's true.
Unless he's her raider, then they got problems, right? Because then there's perception of partiality.
There's no way
run into the problem
because she's the one that's handpicking Joe's for missions.
Well, I mean, she just might be in charge of this operation. Who knows? Whatever. Anyway, we don't really know their structure, right?
That's a good point. She could have operational command, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
So Duke asks her if she's happy, or Scarlet asks Duke if he's happy. Duke says no, and she says, "Good."
Good.
And then Frostbite in greens, right? Frostbite's in greens too. And he says, "What's with Duke and Scarlet?" And then Dusty says, "That's their drama, Frosty." And then whoever's wearing there was some sort of comm headset. I don't really know who it is. They don't name him, but he's got some kind of gear on his head.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, I couldn't
blonde.
I couldn't pick up a name on that one either, so I was a bit confused on that.
Oh, it's airtight.
Is it really?
It's underneath. Yeah, look.
Dusty.
Yeah, so that's airtight.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, cool.
Airtight says this thing is humming very faintly. So now we're starting to go back to that freighter that got destroyed and sank.
Okay.
Yeah. So then Airtight asks, "Do you hear that?" And that's when Dusty says, "That's not a hum, Airtight. It's more like purring." And then in the last panel of chapter 1, you see the setup where it says almost like a cat.
Yeah.
When it's sleeping. So you can see that now whoever our shadowy antagonist was sank the ship. Joe recovered his equipment, and now he can see into the pit.
Right.
And that leads us to the end of chapter 1.
Yep, that leads to the end of chapter 1. And also, so a question going forward was that the original intent was to get this this box into the pit, you know? So I guess we gotta find out later on the next episode of Joe's Talking Joe.
On the next episode. That's what we need, man. We need some kind of stinger on the next episode of Joe's Talking Joe.
Hey, so Jay Bartlett showed up. Hey guys, yo Joe to you, Jay.
What's up, Jay? Good to see you, brother. Thanks for being here. Very cool. Lilith's here too.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
Vickman's here. Hola, Chad. Hola, Jeremy. Hola, Chad's chat.
What's going on, Vickman?
K Paso. Keora S Nikes.
All right.
I don't speak Spanish. I'm sorry.
Are you ESL or because that was like super authentic, right?
Why, yes, I am. Jay, if you're still here, brother, check this out, dude. Booyah! I opened Hiya Toys, Storm Shadow, and Snake Eyes, and I did an unboxing review, and I'm going to post that tomorrow. So anyway, yeah, there he is.
I think that Snake Eyes takes the cake. I mean, Stormy looks good, but you know,
well, it's just a classified Snake Eyes. It's exactly classified Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
He does look good. He does look
well.
Good. Watch my video. You'll see some negatives.
Okay. Now I was gonna say, not to nitpick, but actually, right? He is concept art classified Snake Eyes, not the actual product that we received.
No, he is mold for mold classified Snake Eyes. So
concept art. He's the concept. I've got classified
Storm Shadow.
Oh, yes. No, I'm sorry, Storm Shadow. Yes. Yeah. That's what
this was the original design of the classified Storm Shadow, but the Snake Eyes is that, not the version 0 that came with the big weapons rack, but that version 1 that was in retail, that is that Snake Eyes.
That's the one that I have. I have the double lot.
Mold for mold.
Yeah.
And Random Stuff Garage had a good point. Wasn't Seaburn airtight specialty? Yes. Makes sense that
Okay.
was airtight. Yeah.
Well, there we go.
And that's one of those things where, like, Jeremy and I are also kind of knocking the dust off of these stories as we go with everyone, because it wouldn't be as fun and it wouldn't be as genuine if, I spend the next week reading the whole book and then I know everything. Like, I kind of like to revisit it as we go.
Yeah. I accidentally read ahead. I got into, I finished chapter 2. So, but anyway, it was worth it. I just, we can't, I won't be able to go through the motions and be as, like, I guess surprised, I guess, coming up for the next episode, but it's fine,
Yeah. Plastic Mercenary says that Snake Eyes is on the box set for, do you mean this Storm Shadow is the one that's on the roof on the box for Desert Snake Eyes? Is that what you meant? I think that's what you meant. A long toilet session, so he read ahead.
Yeah.
Speaking of which,
I was going to be in there for a minute.
So Jeremy sent me a message about something. Oh, should we promote it a little more on social media before we go live?
Now again, this is like 15 minutes before we're supposed to go live,
like,
right?
Yeah. That's like normal report time before formation, like 15 minutes prior to zero go time.
Right.
So Jeremy sends me this message. Should we promote it a little more on social media? And I said, yeah, go ahead. I'm taking a combat drop. For any of you who know what that means. Yeah. So I was I was indisposed.
Yeah. So I guess notes for next time. Let's have a conversation about this more than 15 minutes prior, before we're supposed to go live,
Yes.
Or just react to the conditions in the field, right? Improvise and overcome. That's what we do.
Yep, it is. That's like anytime you're out in the field and you see clouds and they're just going to land nav around you and you don't get rain or clouds.
Yeah. Well, all right. Well, hey, I'm really looking forward to the next installment of this. I had a great time here tonight, just talking Army, talking Joe. Had a great time interacting with the chat. Really glad so many of you went ahead and picked this up and you're reading along. Like I said, I want this to be the official, unofficial GI Joe book club as well, right?
Yep.
So we ended after chapter 1, right? Operation what was it? Painted Horse.
Yeah.
Going into chapter 2, this show is going to be every 2 weeks, so there is more than enough time to pick this up and then get caught up on your reading.
Yep.
That way you can be part of the Cool Kids Club next time we go live with this.
Yeah, and it's not a hard ask because that chapter wasn't even 30 pages because we had to get through the prelude too.
That's true. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well,
a
I think
chapter's not even 30 pages.
I think they called that issue 0. I think that was issue
Call it
0.
issue 0.
Yeah. Anyway, it inconsequential. But yeah, Chad, as always, thank you very much for having me on your channel and agreeing to do this show because I think it's going to be a lot of fun. It's been a great time so far.
Always
And
fun,
I'm really looking forward to the next installment.
Yep, absolutely. Me too. And Plastic Mercenary says, hit that like button, y'all. Mr. Wonderful is asking, what do I need to catch up on? Is there a link in the chat? Basically, what you're looking for is volume 1 of the Chuck Dixon, Robert Atkins, G.I. Joe IDW run. That's what you're looking for right there. Yeah. Cool. And for the next episode, actually, thank you for that. I will make sure that I put a link to numerous places where you can buy this book.
Yeah, I think what we should do, I think as far as like successive episodes are concerned, we should just have more and more geared, like to the point where we're just like full battle rattle, like by episode 10. You know what I mean?
So like next episode, it'll be like a Shemog, and then the one after that, it'll be like a plate carrier, and then it'll be like goggles just to be like ridiculous.
Right, yeah, because who the fuck uses those anyway? And yeah, next we're gonna come with a helmet, Peltors underneath it, right? I think my
All
next
that
step
right
is
back there, baby.
I think I'm gonna put my wrist garment on for the next one, right? That'll be my next piece of equipment, right?
No, please don't. Because someone's gonna watch this. They're gonna be like, "What are these two dum-dums doing?"
Just sending my 10 digit. No, I'm not gonna send my 10 digit. I don't want some of y'all to know where I live. So
Yeah, I'm gonna get on my Fipper. I'm gonna send you a message.
Right. So, but hey, everybody that showed up in the chat, thank you very much. Had a good time interacting with everybody.
Yeah.
So yeah, Chad, that's all I got. What you got? Anything else, man?
No. Where can everyone else find you? What do you got going on? You got another Loose But Complete coming up?
Yeah, LBC, right? Long Beach, California, or Loose But Complete is coming up Wednesday at 8 p.m. Central Time. And Ryan and I are doing our top 10 of 2023 so far.
That's right, because Falcon's in that freaking thumbnail, and I was like, why the hell is Matt Damon in this thumbnail?
Yeah. So we're doing our best of 2023 in hand so far, right? So it has to be a figure that you have in hand. I think that's the stipulation. I may have to look into that. It may just be in general, but okay.
Wonderful. Just snagged the last copy off Amazon.
There's a scarcity of them. Well, I'm sure you can find
but
it
like
on eBay.
random stuff says the book's from 2009, so
That's true.
You can still find it, man. I got a carded 1994 Star Brigade Cobra Commander. You can find this fucking book. So, and then Tyler says, "Sorry, I missed the whole thing. We're sorry you did too, but in 2 weeks we will be back at 8 p.m. Eastern.
2 weeks we'll be back reading chapter 2 of this. I'm sorry, chapter 2, volume 1 of the Chuck Dixon G.I. Joe run. Okay, so if you want to read along with the official, unofficial, unofficially authorized but not authorized, officially unofficial G.I. Joe book club, right? You will pick this up and read along with us, join in the fun. Be a cool kid. Be a cool kid, Tyler.
Yeah.
We want that for you, and honestly, you deserve it as well.
Yeah, you do, right? Because I mean, we're gonna get boog. It's gonna get crazy,
right? Yeah,
like, I'm gonna go lights out here in a minute, so it'll be crazy. You don't know what's coming. We're gonna play all sorts of stuff. This tastes like shit. Try it. We're gonna play wristwatch, bubblegum. Who's in my mouth? You don't know. You don't know what's gonna happen.
What's the smell like?
I can't believe I said who's in my mouth. I can't believe
you should. We may have to talk about this. We have to drop down to Platoon Net about this. But you ever heard of a game getting played downrange called Spider-Man?
Yes. Yes.
Did that happen at your fob as well?
No.
Okay, but you heard about it.
You will get whooped. Yes.
Okay, you heard about it because it happened at mine. It's like. It was bad. It was bad. So
before we go, I did star this comment because I wanted to specifically mention this. This is the kind of feedback that I know you and I were talking about. Hopefully we would get with doing something. It's kind of radically different, you know. Patrick Strauko says, "I'm kind of glad I don't have the book. Enjoying the interpretations of the story and real world insight." That's actually really cool feedback.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. I was a little bit concerned at the very beginning, kind of when we were putting the idea to do this together, that it was going to be us. What's the term I'm looking for? Just kind of like, I don't know, being a bit braggadocious because we have insight into this stuff and not a lot of people do. The whole less than 1% thing, right? But you know what? There's so many different channels out there. There's airline pilots have their own channels about aviation stuff, right? So they can explain, how that whole system works, right? And doctors have their own channels and they're explaining, insider stuff as well. So,
right.
That kind of put me a bit at ease about it, right? So,
everybody knows we're service members.
This is my chosen profession. This is my career, and so I feel that I do have the authority to speak about it, or at least give my interpretation, of it. And if I'm wrong, that's why we always have the battle buddy system right there. You got It's Chad there to fucking square me away, So
You are the authority figure.
I am the authority figure.
Hey, gotcha, boy. Well, and that being said, not only are we both currently still serving service members, but GI Joe is what got me into the military.
Right.
To me, it's just layers of a cake. So reading Joe stuff as like real world combat vets, it's fun. It brings it all back around full circle.
Yeah, for sure. And so when we get the opportunity to meet in real life, and especially at places where Larry Hama's there, who's responsible for so much of that lore,
right?
That put us in this position, and getting to meet Slaughter, and I remember being a kid watching him throw bats around like they weighed 10 pounds a piece or something like that, and just to
come on, you guys,
just Sarge standing on top of a pile of bat parts, you know what I mean? It's really cool stuff, man.
Yeah, it's totally cool. All right, brother. Well, then we will catch you Wednesday over on 3POA for Loose But Complete.
Yep, looking forward to it. Thank you again, everybody in the chat that came by to participate. Right, got to put them shades back on. So yeah, had a fantastic time. Looking forward to the next installment. And anybody that's watching right now that plans on joining us on Wednesday for our top 10 so far of 2023, look, if you want to put a list together too and put it in the chat, we'll compare and contrast. Where we're at for the year so far. Be a lot of fun. I love interactive stuff.
Love you, Jay. Did you see this storm shadow? I'm gonna send you pictures of it. All right, brother. We're gonna sign off now. Stay for our cool outro.
Yeah, right.
You're dismissed.